Okay, here we are in the Roots Fruit Garden. We've planted our containerised plug plants that have gone in there. Now I'm going to talk to you about the other type of growing planting material, which is seeds. Nathan's got some seeds here. We're going to start off with some really big seeds today. These are runner beans, and beans, peas, they're really great seeds to start off with because they're very easy to handle. It's great to do with kids. And Nathan's going to take some of these seeds out and show you just how big and beautiful they are. Show them, Nathan. Put them in your hand. Let's get a few out in your hand. That'd be great. Everybody can see how big they are. It's all right, don't worry. I'll show them. There we go. So we're going to be planting some runner beans today. Similar principle to before. The one thing I did want to say is if you've got like a really long run that you want to do and you don't want to use a cane for a straight line, so we've used a cane for a straight line there, you can use a piece of string. Now Nathan, if you hold the other pieces of string at the other end, so this piece of string at the moment is bent. If you want a straight piece of string, if we have a tug of war, that is beautiful and straight, and that's how we create a lovely straight taut line. Now what we're going to do, because we've got these wooden sides, we're going to use nails, but you can use a cane, and that creates something called a drill. Not a drill that you drill nails and things like that in, but a drill line. So let's get some screws or nails. So if you wanted to be able to take them again out easily, it's nails or screws, whereas nails you have to kind of pull them out. So I'm going to do the same trick with my hand. That's the width away, that's the start of the line. I'm going to get my hammer over here. Obviously be careful you don't put your thumb on between the hammer and the nail, because that can be very painful. Knock it in like that, not too far, because remember you've got to get it back out again. And again, mark it off there. In it goes. And what we do is do a very simple granny knot that you can undo, because we're going to take this string down at some point. And remember, pull it around the nail like that. Now, if you've got long enough string, you can then go on and put your next nail in there, wrap it around that one and go that way, which I think I might have a go at doing that, actually. So I've run out of nails, so I'm going to use it. We're in Birmingham, we're going to use the Birmingham screwdriver, which is known as a hammer. So I'm going to knock a screw in there. And another one there. And that means that you can then do your next row nice and easily. So we've got two lovely taut lines, which are tuned in like E and D. So there we go. So the next thing that we're going to be looking at doing is your drill, and a number of different ways that you can do a drill. You can buy one of these, is a dibber. You can use the end of a trowel, so you can see the trowel's got a point on the end, and what you're doing is you're running it along the string to get a nice straight line. We've got a bit of weed material there, we missed some the last time. We'll get that out. So, or you can use your dibber to get yourself a nice couple of straight lines like that. And so what you're then doing is you can then turn your dibber up the other way. Now if you're doing sort of really quite big seeds, you've got a fat end and a thin end. So we're going to use a fat end because it's quite big. And literally we're going to do the spacing with the hand, which is about a trowel. And I'm going to use the fat end, and I'm going to make myself a hole. If you haven't got one of these, then you can just use your finger. I think using your finger is a lot more fun. So, Nathan, do you want to do a load of holes? Work with your hands.
Sure.
That's it. In it goes. Brilliant. While Nathan's doing each one of those, I'm going to take one of the seeds from the packet, wherever that's gone, over here, and I'm going to start putting each seed in. So these seeds you can put in quite deep. You don't need to memorise the depth of every seed, although you'll find that on your seed packet it'll tell you what to do. I'm going to put them in at least 3.5 times the width of the seed. So if you look at any seed, on average, if you look at the diameter of that seed, 1 to 3.5 times the diameter of the seed is roughly pretty much every seed. That's how far it likes to go in, which is roughly my thumb. And that's what I'm doing. I'm pushing them in with my thumb like that. So we've got the drill that's here. we've got the string that's still in place. You can leave that string if you want for the time being, so that you know where where they're coming up. But it's literally just pressing over the top, and you can see I've left a nice straight line. It's like that. So the other thing is, if you've got seeds that are really, really tiny and black, you can still put your drill line in, and if they're small, it's a fairly narrow drill. And if they're black, get some of your ash or your lime and just sprinkle it onto the surface. And then when you put your seeds on that surface, especially if they're sort of really dark and small, you sort of pinch them out of the packet, and you'll be able to see where they're landing on the soil. So that's sort of some of your smaller seeds, your vegetable seeds, like, or your herb seeds. So it might be the brassicas are quite small, or if you're doing onion seeds, they're really small and black, or if you're doing chives, or if you're doing poppy seeds and you're trying to grow them in nice neat rows, put them into that ridge, and then you can either cover them over like I've showed you there, like that, or if you're really struggling and you want to get that 3.5 seed depth and the seeds like small as dust, literally you can just get yourself a sieve, put it through, and just make that soil, that line disappear with sieved soil. Yeah, take some soil, sieve it over the top, and then it's gone. Now, the other important thing that you really must do with seeds is label them. And the two most important things that you need to write on the label with your pencil or indelible marker is A, the date, B, the name of the seed. And you probably say, what, would you put your own name? Would Nathan put his name on? Well, yeah, if this is a competition and you're trying to grow the biggest sunflower, it's really important that you put your own name on it. But generally speaking, the name of the plant, particularly the variety, and the date that you planted it, because you want to know that it's a success. So you write that on, put it in, and what it might be an idea is write a label at each end of your drill or straight line, so that you know where it goes. And the great thing about putting them in a straight line is it saves on space. It's easy to hoe between them. That's your hand there is a width of a hoe, so you can get your hoe down right down through the middle and in between each row. And also, weeds don't grow in straight lines. These seeds will grow in a straight line, and you will know which ones are the weeds and which ones are seeds as they come up. It's very difficult to understand or see the difference between a weed and a seedling. I haven't memorised what every single seedling looks like, but I know when I look at a drill, because they're in a straight line, it means that those are not the weeds, those are the crop, and we don't want to pull them up. So all that's left for us to do now is, again, is to water them, again is to use a rose, and again is to do it very gently. Now, the important thing when you are watering is don't water straight away like that, because if you've got big drips there, it displaces them. So get it started like that, in motion, and then go over the top. And my colleague Nathan is going to do that now over here and water them. And basically you're looking at the water pooling on the surface and over the line. And this is something that if it doesn't rain, you've got to be coming out here every single evening to do it. Don't do it in the middle of the day when the sun's out and it's going to burn it all away. The best time to do it is in the evening when the sun's starting to go down, like about now, and it's got plenty of time for the water to soak in and overnight really have an impact on the plant's uptake of nutrient and water from the soil. So just one other thing to talk about, we've been putting beans in. Those are runner beans and they get quite big. So what you've got to look at doing is actually creating a support for those runner beans. So another little job for you to do is to get some canes, although we've got some willow here. And what we can do is cut them to the right size. If they're big runner beans, so like the ones that we're doing here, that's probably about the right size. But if they're dwarf ones, look on the packet and see what size support you need to do for those seeds, for the seeds that you have. Now, when you're using willow, obviously it can come back to life again, particularly if it's green, so watch out for that. But what you can either do is put them around nearby your seeds, so you can do it in this method here, where we're going to push it in, and then we're going to take another one of the same length. So take that branch off there, push that into there, and see what the length is like that. That's where you take two, and this is where you create a wigwam. So go the other side of where you've planted the seed, a little bit further away. And then, can you see where they've crossed over like that? At that crossing point there, that's where you can put in a support or a tie. You can either use a cable tie, or I'm using a bit of jute string because it looks nice and rustic. People don't like very much seeing plastic in the garden anymore, so we've got some nice jute string that's being used there. So you can then either, you don't have to plant in straight lines. If you might have done this in a pot, you can turn it into a circular wigwam. That's whereby you then put another one. If you planted the seeds in a circle, if this is in a pot, particularly for things like peas, you can grow them like this quite easily in pots. You then take another one, poke it into there, and tie it together. So keep tying them all together, and you're building like a wigwam. Or the other method, and I'm only going to use a granite knot, I'm not using anything that's that technical. The other method that you can do is, if you've done a line like this of runner beans, roughly where each bean that you've planted, put your support in, take another one, put your support in, cross them over. So remember, you don't have to have willow, you can use bamboo, and run this all the way down your line. So that, and that's why you can see I put in 2 lines of runner beans, so that you have got both sides of the wigwam that they can grow up. So you keep doing that by each seed, putting a couple of these supports in, and then to finish off, what you're then looking to give it that extra bit of strength is to put a ridge right on the top there like that, and then you take your string and at each point tie it off, and you'll find it makes it much, much, much stronger. And then hopefully you'll watch those seeds grow up, particularly if they're runner beans, come up, and that is like a solar panel, absorbing all the light from the sun. And what it's going to do is you're going to flower, get these beautiful orange flowers, you'll get runner beans, and they'll be ready to pick at the end of the summer. So those are the 2 methods for planting plants that are plugs and planting seeds, particularly seeds that are big and that need support as well. This is support that you can put in place. So good luck with what you're growing. Hopefully you can keep the pests and diseases off it. Hopefully you can keep it watered and looked after. Hopefully you can keep it weeded. But we will be doing another video on how to look after, once your plants are starting to come up, how you can look after them, and top tips for keeping pests and diseases off, and top tips for keeping plants fed, healthy and weed free. Thank you for watching.